My name is Levi. A few personal things. Number one, if you look in the Sichos of Tafshin Yud Aleph Yud Beis, the Rebbe was sandik by 3 people. That says before the Nesias, the Rebbe was sandik by a 4th one. In Tafshin Zayin, the Rebbe was sandik by Reb Shalom Ber Hecht, J.J. Hecht's son. So the Rebbe was his sandik. As a matter of fact, I once had a shaila regarding by a bris. There's a whole question whether you have to have 1 chair or 2 chairs, one for the Kisah Shel Eliyah and one for the sandik, or one chair or 2 chairs. There's a letter from the Rebbe that from the Zohar is mashma 2 chairs, a ganz ariches. At the end, the Rebbe finishes off that that Kimdumani Borur Tzadaloshin, that when he was by a bris together with the Fidik Rebbe in Varsha, the Fidik Rebbe, they used only 1 chair. So some people say that because there was a mice also about the Tzemach Tzedek, that if you don't mind, I'm going to stand. But Tzemach Tzedek, there was once that Tzemach Tzedek was sandik. I think it's in the Sichos from Fidik Rebbe. And Lapel, there was 1 chair, because the Rebbe makes it not only on his paper. So that me gesagt. Aber Lapel, that's what comes out, that from the Rebbe came the money borrowed, it's only 1 chair. So today they usually try to use like a wider chair, so this is like whatever. So since I knew that the Rebbe was sandik by 3 brisen, so I figured I'll call up the fathers and ask them if they remember if there was 1 chair, 2 chairs. Okay, so the first one that I wanted to ask was Tannenbaum. Rabbi Tannenbaum, the Rebbe was a Sadik Kedushin, was a Sandik. His parents both were not alive already when I had this kasha. Then I called up Rabbi Rosenfeld in Borough Park, because his son Rabbi Yosef was not fast. He was, the Rebbe was a Sandik. Rabbi Simpson's an anical. So I asked him if you remember if there was 1 chair, 2 chairs. So Levi, so my 60 it's
and you were the baby.
No, I'm doing the father. No, the Engel of the Chesed given up. So no, I was asking the father. I left you not now, but okay. So then I called up Rabbi Shuchit. So first I spoke to his wife, and I asked her if she remembers if there was 1 chair or 2 chairs. And she started laughing. No, I asked if she has any pictures of the bris. She started laughing pictures. We lived in an apartment on Kingston Avenue. It was not a 1-bedroom, a 1-room apartment. It starts with the kitchen, with the dining and the bedroom, but it's all 1 big room with a Farbrengen insulation, with a curtain. A curtain. Yeah, that was. She says so. The ladies were in the bedroom. the Rebbe was over there between the kitchen and the dining room. I didn't see what was going on, but maybe my husband remembers. So I asked Rabbi Hirschel. We're good friends. He used to come to Italy a lot for business. And he said he doesn't remember 2 chairs, 1 chair, but he remembers that the whole sikh, he started telling me the whole sikh, but I was new. And then he started telling me that after the bris, they went over to the Rebbe to ask about Birkus HaGoyim, etc. Anyways, but the Tzad HaShavah that happened, now, so then I wanted to find out.
For the mother.
Yeah. I can't say it. The Pope, we don't say it. So then I figured, let me try to find out by Shomberger. And I found out that Uncle Lasker, who just passed away this year, he was by the bris. He was a 14-year-old boy, but it was by the bris. The next time he came to New York, so I asked him, do you remember? So of course I remember the bris. Problem is that what he remembered was, which is fine, but it's not going to answer my question. He remembers was the JJ at that time lived on Easter Park, right? After all the Taylor towards Nostrand. And you walk into the apartment building, you go, you make a right, and you go in, and then he made another right, go to the front room, and that's where the bris was. He told me the Rebbe was a Sandik, the Rebbe sat on a table. As I sagte, the Rebbe sat because the Moil, weißt du, sie wanted the Rebbe. So he said the Rebbe was, so I don't have an answer to my question. Aber by the brisen, the Rebbe finished off by the bris, that the minig is, that he saw by the Fidik Rebbe, that the Sandik gives 20 zlotus towards the yeshiva, and the Rebbe brings it in Hayim Yom also. And the Rebbe took out a $5 bill, because it says $5 is the equivalent to 20 zlotys in Poland. And that's what the Rebbe gave them by the bris. The letter that my parents got for my bris included a $5 bill. Parshanas I'll anybody say, but that was an interesting point.
Ja, was instead of Santa Claus?
Sorry?
Was instead of Santa Claus?
I said Parshanas, so iedereen sagen was
Okay.
But that was the point. Now, one of the questions that I always had, I was born in Chof Aleph, and the first time I came to the Rebbe was in Chof Ches, when I was 7 years old. And I never knew why my father never brought me before to the Rebbe. And especially when I was 2 years old, my parents sent to the Rebbe Tzechan a picture of me. I have the exact same picture. And from what I heard, and I heard from some people who remembered it because they saw it in Tafshir Chafei when they came to the Menachem Odel, the Rebbe Tzechan had, when you walked to the apartment in 1418, she was an apartment on the left, so as soon as you come in, to the left side was like the dining room, living room, whatever that room was. There was a couch and there was a break front. On the break front, there was a picture of the Rebbe, and the eunuchs gave a picture, whatever. So when she got my picture, she put it on the other side. And I heard from one of the people in Chafei that when he went to Menachem Odel, he saw the picture there, and later it went with the stuff of the Rebbe Tzechan. But when the Rebbe got that picture, so she wrote a letter to my parents, thank you, a lot of things. And then in between she writes, Levi Yitzchak, Bli Anhara Ganzer Bocher. I was only 2. But, so I always wondered why my father never brought me to, in Tafshir Chof Gimel. My father, he was very close to the Rebbe Tzechan because of not from Russia. So he used to go to the Rebbe Tzechan a lot as a Bocher. And then when he used to come to Chof, he used to go visit the Rebbe Tzechan. So he went into the Rebbe Tzechan, and she told him that next year he should bring me. But my father didn't bring me. Whatever. By my son's bar mitzvah, my father read a telegram that he got from the Rebbe, because I don't remember exactly which year it was, one of those years that my father, he wrote to the Rebbe that he's coming for Chof. He always asked for permission, of course. And he wrote to the Rebbe that he's planning to bring me. So the Rebbe sent back a telegram that he had permission to come. Nisias hakoton achshav eina kadois. So my father knew that the time has not come yet to bring me. So Lepoil, I never saw the Rebbe Tzechan. But we had these exchanges. Lepoil, when I came the first time, first of all I was able to get a few letters from the Rebbe, from when I was 4, when I was 5, when I was 7, etc. But when we came the first time, when I was 7, so we came Yud Ches Kislev, Tafshir Chof Ches, and we were here for almost 2 months. Those days he didn't come to America just like that. It was a big trip 60 years ago, 50 plus years ago. So we came from, and also over there, the winter vacation goes for 5 weeks, whatever it used to go those days. So it wasn't a big deal. So we came Yud Ches Kislev. So first of all, the Rebbe, for 2 years already, was working very hard on pushing my father to get the Tanya translated into Italian. So, lots of ganze Parsha, unbelievable stuff. But Lepoil, it came off the press, mamish off the press, the day before we came to New York on Yud Ches, mamish on Yud Zayin. So my father figured he'll send it to the Rebbe, even if it's not bound yet, but so the Rebbe gets it before Yud Kislev. And for whatever reason, my parents decided that I should give it to the Rebbe. So we came, Yud Ches Kislev then Farbrengen was Thursday night, so I guess we came on Wednesday. And we rehearsed how to stand on the sidewalk. We'd come from the airport about 4 or 5 in the afternoon. The Rebbe used to go home those days, 5:30 to 6:30 approximately. So we waited on the street, and it was very dark, and we saw the Rebbe's light. And we knew when the Rebbe's light goes off, that the Rebbe's coming out. And sure enough, the light went off. The Rebbe came out, and he came in front of us. So we're standing off, and my father wasn't there, just my mother and 6 of us. And the Rebbe stopped, and we said the Baruch of Shechion out loud, everybody together. The Rebbe answered Amen. And then I went over to the Rebbe and gave the Tanya. Plastic baggers, huh? But it was clear, you could see from the outside what it is. The Rebbe took it with both hands, look, like shot, he has it. And he said, Dank. That was the second time I got a Dank from the Rebbe. And the Rebbe took it, went to the car, and went home. Then it was Farbrengen Yud Ches Kislev. The next Shabbos, by the Farbrengen, now I was a little kid, the whole table of the Rebbe those days was like these 2 tables, Mishmer. It was only the first shul. It was Chof Ches, but still the first shul. So the Rashag used to sit right here. The Rebbe was here. That's how far it was. And my Zayder, Shalom Posner, used to stand behind the Rashag. That was his place. Later he moved here behind the Tanimah. So my cousin brought me a milk crate, and I sat right behind the Rashag. That was my place by the Farbrengen. To me, the Farbrengen was like a Garelik. I never saw so many people with beards. I saw my father, Meshel Lazar, Rabbi Gansburg, and that was the beards that I knew. So, and the beginning, those days we only had Nechayach until number 3. So my parents bought me a record player. I used to listen to Nechayach, the 3 tapes, the 3 records. Good. So now here I had a big bag. In the middle of that Farbrengen, Mitamol, I noticed that all of a sudden everybody's up is looking at in this corner right here. And then Mitamol, the Rebbe is also looking and smiling, but I didn't move. Heavy Levi, remember Heavy Levi, yeah? He used to stand down here next to Rabbi Yoel. So he tells me, Gay, the Rebbe roofed it. So I got up, I went, and the Rebbe gave me a piece of cake. To be honest, I went to sit down. Years later, I gave a look at that Farbrengen, and I saw that the Rebbe spoke, as zu kommen 2 Schlafim in Afatzis Amayonis. The first one is the Tanya of Italianish. He spoke a whole thing about the fact of Shivi Mummers, the ganze Meise. And the second thing was Sefer Erechim, which is a separate parsha. The first thing the Rebbe said was about the Tanya in Italian. So I would assume that that's what it was. Good. For those of you who remember davening upstairs, the small zal. So the Rebbe sat over here. The place over here was empty. And everybody was by the bim and further. I was a little kid, when I used to get mices. I knew when you, and it's Chazar shots, right? I used to sit in the shul next to my father, I had my step where I used to sit. Here I came to my first Chazar shots, by my first mincha, when the Zuk was to sit, and someone to sit. Then I saw, I found a place. Over here, the Rebbe's table didn't go till the other cage. There was a little space. And the bench goes to the other cage. Bench goes to the other cage. So I sat down on the other side. So the Rebbe sitting on this side of the bench, I'm sitting on the side of the bench. The Rebbe looked at me, I looked at him, and that was the Chazar Sashat. The later, I was 7 years old. But then I figured on my own that the Lecheres is passed that I should sit there. Good, so I stood there, but I used to hold my siddur at the end of the table. One day, we had to go from New York to Pittsburgh, because my grandparents were in Pittsburgh, and we used to go back and forth. We had to catch a flight at, I think, 5 o'clock or something, but we wanted to be by Mincha. Now, those days, the Rebbe didn't come out to Mincha every day, 3:15. Sometimes 3:15. Sometimes Rabbi Groner used to come out to say, the Rebbe turns come in 7 minutes better, or, things like that. So, if I would stay inside, and I want to run out at 3:30 to go to catch the flight, it's going to be hard for me, all these big people, So, I decided that day, my mother and my sister and myself, that we'll stay in the hallway, and even if the Rebbe comes out at 3:30, we'll see at least the Rebbe go to Mincha. Okay. Lepoil, the Rebbe came out at 3:15, and we were standing there. The Rebbe came out. The Rebbe turns around and he sees me standing there. We're gone. The Rebbe went in. But I remember how the Bachim was shushking like I didn't do anything wrong. I was just standing there. The Rebbe came out from Mincha, stopped by the elevator. He calls me. He went like this with his finger. He calls me over and he said, "Farvas hast du nicht gedacht mit Mincha mit meinem Minyan." Yeah, that was so if you want to wonder why I ran out to my head, I understand why. Anyways, so that was that. A month later, I was here for Yitzvat. Yitzvat then was Shabbos. One thing that I remember from that Friday night everybody prepared for a mimer. Because the year before it was also Friday night and the Rebbe came out for a mimer. And I remember how I was standing in my place, but I saw the Rebbe come in and something happened over there. And then I remember that somebody went up on the dim and said that the Rebbe said that there's no mimer. Because the Rebbe came in and he saw the Rebbe, and the Rebbe asked, what's this? And the Rebbe Chazak told him, I meant a mimer. And the Rebbe said, if you want. Anyways.
What's Shabbos?
Sorry? What?
Shabbos Friday.
Friday night.
Friday was Yitzchak.
This story happened Friday night.
Because the last time was Yitzchak was a Friday, it's a problem, but it's a Monday.
Everything's fine. I was 7 and I didn't keep track of all of the years and all I just remembered that Tzia, how we're all standing and waiting, was Friday night. How the Rebbe walked in, something happened. Later I heard that the Rebbe told Rabbi Chadikov that it's not safe. Yeah, no. But 3 days later, Yud Gimel Shvat, this was on Tuesday. We went to it was Tuesday, yeah, I think Monday or Tuesday. It was Yud Gimel Shvat, and we're going back to Italy. We're standing in the hallway for Mincha. This way after Mincha, the Rebbe is going to go out. We're going to give us Sport Gesundheit. It was about 10 to 3, Lerech, and we're standing. Oh, stop, based up. And this one's talking to my mother. That one's talking to my mother. Based up. Mit Tamol, Rabbi Chadikov, the blues. He goes into the Rebbe's room, whatever for his business. he came out and he said, I remember it like it was 10 minutes ago. He said, the Rebbe will sein Mishpachas Garelik auf Yechidus jetzt. 10 to 3 in the afternoon, Yud Gimel Shvat. We weren't ready for that at all, but he said the Rebbe wants, okay. I didn't have to go to mikveh then yet, because I was only 7, so good butter. Good, we went to the room, went to the Yechidus. First the Rebbe spoke to my mother at least for 10, I don't know for how long. Later she told me that most of the conversation was about me, because of everybody else was girls, I was the only boy. And the Rebbe wanted to know what I'm learning, how it does, and I had a little payah, obviously, and my mother, the Rebbe wanted to know why. Do I know the Lubavitchers don't have payahs? All kinds of things like that. Anyways, then the Rebbe, I have older sisters, so the Rebbe asked her a few questions. Then the Rebbe turned to me, and the Rebbe asked, "Was ist dein Name?" So I said, Levi Yitzchak. Was lernst du? Chumash. Welke Chumash? Bereshis. Which Chumash? Bereshis. Welke Parsha? Which Parsha? Toldos. The Rebbe asked, "Was meint Toldos? What does Toldos mean?" So I said, the kinder, the children. Wem is kinder? Whose children? Yitzchak's. Wer gewinnt Yitzchak's Tate? Who was Yitzchak's father? I said, Abraham. Wer gewinnt Yitzchak's kinder? Who are Yitzchak's children? So I said, Yaakov and Esau. Then the Rebbe said, wer is gewinnt mehr frum? Who was more frum? Now, I spoke Yiddish. Very good Yiddish, because my father Balbatim also spoke Yiddish. But the word frum, I never heard. Can you get the word frum? So I turned to my mother, and I tell her in Italian, because I talked to my mother in Italian. And I told her, non capisco quella parola. I don't understand that word. But my mother was standing like this. Then I reminded myself that Rabbi Lazar's daughter, who was my age, she was in New York before me. And she told me, the Rebbe speaks Italian, because he told us ciao or something like that, whatever. The Rebbe speaks Italian. So I said, wait a minute, the Rebbe speaks Italian. So you obviously understood what I told my mother, right? So I turned around, the Rebbe is smiling, and the Rebbe said, wer is gewinnt mehr gut? I don't know if good means from, but that's what the Rebbe said. Wer is gewinnt mehr gut? So I said, Yaakov. So the Rebbe said, no, lass me reden wegen Yaakov. If that's the case, let's talk about Yaakov. The Rebbe said, weißt du, Yaakov hat gehabt Kinder? Didn't know Yaakov, that's the next parsha. The mazel was that when I came to New York then, I got presents, bizda from my cousins, my uncles. This Italian kid, they never saw. And one of the presents that I got, mamish a week before, was a puzzle of the Yud Beis Shvatim. And I was hoping that would be the next question, right? So the Rebbe said, weißt du, gehabt Kinder? I said, yep. Everything else is stolz. So the Rebbe said, weißt du, seine Namen? I said, yep. So the Rebbe said, fang an sagen. So I said, Reuben, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, Donat. The Rebbe raised his hand and said, Ginok. Was die gewähnt der Name von der dritte? What was the name of the third one? Levi. Wie heißt du? Levi. The next question, the words, if I remember correctly, was like, wie stimmt es? Sort of like who is Levi here? I wasn't exactly sure that was the question, but I knew that that felt from north, so I answered to the Rebbe. Again, I was 7. I answered, der Rebbe steht beschaffen 2 Levis. This is what I answered. Der Rebbe steht beschaffen 2 Levis. I'm supposed to say. So then the Rebbe gets serious, and he asked me, he looked at me straight in the eyes, I'll never forget that. He looked at me and he goes, und auf einmal bist du ein Name. Who are you named after? Now, I started thinking for a moment, because in Italian, there's a very elegant way how to say your father. When you talk to a king, when you talk to your father. But in Yiddish, I didn't know, how do you say that? I don't know, it didn't sound right. To say it to the Rebbe's face, the Rebbe's tate, I also didn't want to say in his face. I took my time. I thought, and then I told the Rebbe's tate. When I said that, the Rebbe gave me a smile from here to California. He called me over and he gave me a small siddur. That was all. If I have to talk about this, but I want to let Shmuel say a few words, so I'm just going to say very briefly that I always wondered, first of all, what kind of question is that? Yankov hat Kinder? Yankov, wer ist wer mehr froh? Who has a hava minne, or wer ist wer mehr froh? I have a minute to the table, yeah? What's a have a minute? Where's the fruit? And then I told him that, yeah. Oh, Yaakov, oh, good, so let's talk about Yaakov. Hey, That's number one. So that there's a beautiful likud from the Rebbe later. I think it's a Lamed or about when Esav Ketzad Maasrin as Hamelach. Beautiful likud. We dort gezet der Esav bechlal halt Hatzach as Hapeker from Yaakov. And the message to me was very, very simple. Again, I don't want to go into the whole thing. Italy is Esav. So there's a lot to talk about that. The Rebbe told it to my father many times. The time in Italian, the Rebbe sent it to Shazar, and he said that this is what Rashi says, Begin Yankiv and Esav, Keshezekom, Ze Neifel, they're all Garelik. Then when it comes though to that Levi and this Levi and the Fried and the Rebbe's father, also there's a beautiful likud, I think it's a Garelik Chof, where the Rebbe asks a question. Rashi says that when Yankov Avinu told his children that they should take him to Eretz Yisrael, Vayasu Bama V'lo Yikein Kasher Tzivam, that they were 444 just like the Shvatim, that's how they carried the Oren of Yankov Avinu. So Rashi Dorten, Levi Lo Yisa Shehu Osid L'Yisas Oren. Levi should not carry the Oren, and Yosef should not carry. Why? Because Yosef Shehu Melech. Now with them, Menashe Ephraim, you take them. Menashe Ephraim will take their place. There's a long ariches, there's the Yamit Shailis, etc. But the Nukudas Inyan is over there, the Nukudas Inyan. What says Levi Lo Yisa, because he's going to have to carry the Oren. The Oren is, these Ureiniklah are going to carry the Oren. Therefore, the elders can't destroy the Oren. Not only that, Moshe Rabbeinu, which he made the Oren, right, with B'Tzalel, he carried Atzmus Yosef. So Moshe Rabbeinu made. Sein Eltern say that like, well, what's the Nekuda that the Rebbe brings out over there is that the first Rashi in Parsha Vayichi says as why is Parsha Vayichi Parsha Stuma? Because that was the beginning of Golus. Yankov Avinu passing away is the beginning of Golus. That's why it's a Parsha Stuma, Nistuma V'nei Israel. However, we see that as long as Levi didn't pass away, and as long as Yosef was around, the Golus didn't start. That's what it says, Vayomus Yosef because until Yosef. Yeah? In the next parsha it says about Levi, how old was Levi when he passed away? Zakrashi, because this way you know when the Golus Hashibutaka start. So Levi and Yosef were both above the Golus. That's why they couldn't carry the order. Taking the order in Arab Mitzrayim is only from Golus. Levi and Yosef are above the Golus. But there's a difference between Levi and Yosef. Yosef was a Melech, Levi was a Rav, and Yosef was above Golus Mitzrayim. Levi, Shevet Levi, even in Mitzrayim, that didn't work. Why didn't the Shevet Levi work when they were in Mitzrayim? All the biurim that you tell the little kids back because they didn't want to start working for Parak, Parak cared that they came to Rikam. If you're Jewish, you got to work, right? Now the Teretz is, it's a longer difference with Rambam, because if you want to take over a country, that was one of the mistakes that Bush made with Iraq. He thought he's going to go to Iraq, and it's a matter for normal mention, yeah, for Democrats. Yeah, it's gemeint. Doesn't work that way. A Kopf von Araber kannst du nicht bite. The way it works is, if you want to do it, you have to go to the professors of the country. Und übermachen die Kopf of the people, they will already take care of the rest of the people. And that's what Pilate thought Shevet Levi was the Rabban, and Shevet Levi was the Meir Hira. Nemen Zay, and he's going to give them the dozen, the Mele, they will shouldn't take care of everybody else. So we see that Levi and Yosef were both the concept. Al der Zeh Menashe and Ephraim. Levi and Yosef took place of Menashe and Ephraim. Was is Menashe? Ki Nashana Lekim is Besavi. The Rebbe said it was a bar. It was Besavi. Ephraim Lekim Be'eretz Ani in. So that's why I thought that's Vistame. That's what the Rebbe meant with that, this Levi and that Levi. The Rebbe had two teachers, his father and his Rebbe. Right? Who's higher? I have no idea, and it's not my business. But they were both definitely up there. Then comes the Chof. But I'm talking about in the Chassidus Gedet. It's his father and his Rebbe. Was?
One is Levi, one is Yosef.
Oh, so now, but in Chassidus, both of them, the second name is the same. Yitzchak al Shem HaGeula. Now there's two ways how you could get to either Levi or Yosef. Yosef is above Golus. The Rebbe is above Golus. Levi is in Golus, Amir Hira, in Golus, and Dort, and that not is very dominion. So I would assume that maybe was the message that the Rebbe was trying to give. And yes, but and as I mentioned before, when I get to Toshna Medale, so I'll just finish off one more word about that. as I said, in Tafshil Lamed the Rabbi gave us $30 and the mashke, and he said, I thank for coming from your side. Shabbos by the Farbrengen, I don't remember if it was Lamed or it was a few years later. The family that took care of Rabbi Levi in Almata was the Raskin family. Rabinovich, but I'm saying they came later out of Russia, was the Raskin family. And that's what the Rebbe by the Farbrengen requested, that anybody who was Mishamish my father should say L'chaim. My father was in Almata, that's where we met Levi Raskin, they became good friends. The problem was my father was on the other side of town, and my Zayden never took my father to the Levi. He was afraid. They were most afraid. The Raskins were nearby. My parents, my father was far. Not so far, but they were afraid. So my father never saw Rabbi Levi. Later, he became close with the Rebbe Tzachana, which is a separate parsha. When she came out of Russia with my aunt, I got some, but it's again. But never saw. When the Rebbe told the Raskins to say L'chaim, no, the Rebbe said here by Farbrengen, my father used to stand over there, and that's ask against word. And the Rebbe sent David Raskin to ask my father, so, for those of you who know my father's asked a question, what is his response?
He doesn't.
Gives a smile. That's what my father does usually. Okay? So, David Raskin asked my father, my father, nothing, smile. So, Reb David stands, the Rebbe is looking. Reb David. With Tamol, the Rebbe calls over Reb David and says, no. What did he say? Like, what's going on? Reb David the Chassaldat. He tells the Rebbe, schmeichelt. He told him the truth. Schmeichelt. So the Rebbe told him, frag him, Sera Tamol angegossen a glass tea. If you ever put a cup of tea. My father again didn't answer. So the Rebbe said, you should still say L'chaim. Okay, so my father said L'chaim. Okay. Tavshim Mem Gimel, you could look it up in the Farbrengen, if it's here. Tavshim Mem Gimel, there was a Farbrengen Shabbos Chof, or Shabbos, or the Shabbos, I think, I don't remember, Shabbos Mamash was Chof, or whatever, but the Shabbos of Chof, the Farbrengen, the Rebbe said, the others from Shamish Gimel Taten, sollen L'chaim. My father didn't say, he figured last time was just a roast shop for them, but he's not going to say again. Good. Fertig. Not do it again. Shabbos Mevorchen El, the next Shabbos. The Rebbe is very talking about Chedesh El. The next Sikha, the Rebbe said, darf doch Maschel sein, Sache from letzte Shabbos. So the Rebbe spoke on the Rebbe always speaks, say, Asiyum, and das, mit der Hadrin. So the Rebbe said, the Rebbe started talking Bariches about the Siyum. Then the Rebbe said, there's another thing was mit der Maschel sein. Ich hab damals gebeten, I asked them, that all those that were Mishamish, my father, should say L'chaim. There was somebody here that I think he was Mishamish. And Barabas is an Echbel Akelim, he's a humble guy, and the Rebbe went on and on and on and on. And he says that I'm not going to say his name because he's over here and he's here what I'm here's what I'm saying, and therefore if he thinks that it was there, if he doesn't think it's and on and on, Fardik. And then the Rebbe finished with this. We're back to the Siyum for another hour, come out for another hour. The Rebbe finished the Sikha, the Rebbe turns that way. So my father came up to the Rebbe and the Rebbe gave him a cause of L'chaim. What that means, I can't really tell you. But I would assume that it's because of all the things that our family did for the Rebbe Tzachana, so I would assume that that's maybe what it is. But at least we got very nice kid of him because of Rebbe Levi. So yeah, I'm very proud of my name.
Maybe he gave him once and he goes to the
After a few years, I thought I could My father never saw it. My aunt would have known, somebody would have known. He always knew it, he always told me, he never saw it, he never went there.
I have two things similar to that. When my oldest son was born, it was on Pesach. So the Akhir of Pesach was the bris. So it was far apart, very fair. And I walked into the Farbrengen. I had a bottle of wine that you buy for Farbrengen, you give out to say. So I told the Rebbe there was the bris. So the Rebbe asked me, what's the nomen? What name did you give the baby? So I'm trying to figure out what am I supposed to answer. Name was Mendel. And so what do I say? Okay, I couldn't say Malcolm Mendel. And so I'm thinking for probably a second or two. Is that no one Nachum Tzemach Tzedek? Later on, people say, Huntene, why don't you say it's for Rebbe? What do you mean? Okay. That was one story. I also, you talk about the bris, by Zayda in Baltimore, the we have a letter where the Frierdiker Rebbe writes a letter to Mazel Tov for the bris of your Einago, and for me. So I'm just saying that they're just two things similar to what you're going through.